Hello, friends. Welcome back to another episode of What It Takes to Be a Rock Star. Welcome back. This is part 2 with Dead Tooth. If you're watching, you might notice that I'm in my car, and it's because I'm doing approximately 1 million things before I leave in approximately 3 hours to leave for Brooklyn to go on tour with Tea Eater to Europe. So I'll link the dates in the show description so you can see where we're going, and maybe you can come out if you're in those areas. Anyway, this week is part 2 with Zach from Dead Tooth, and we really get deep into it this week. We talk about finances as a musician, we talk about sacrifices, we talk about being a musician and keeping relationships going, we talk about being a musician and keeping your health up and running. And anyway, we really get into it, and I really enjoyed the conversation. I'm really grateful for Zach taking the time to talk about all those things with me, because I think it's pretty fascinating. And anyway, yeah, I hope you enjoy. And I got a new phone. If you were listening last week, you know I had no room, and now I have room, and I'm recording this video on my phone. So yay to improve technologies, and enjoy the conversation.
Yeah.
So because you're saving money on the van, and not having to rent something, are you guys, when you go out on tour, are you like breaking even? Are you making money? Are you losing money? Where are you
Uh,
at with that? Do you
it kind of
know?
depends on the tour. It's like some tours we make a little money because like we did a Bass Drum of Death support tour, and the guarantee wasn't huge, but we figured out how to budget our like our whole system. At the time, Gino, the shitty thing about Gino, there's a lot of shitty things about Gino. I hate you, Gino. No, I'm just kidding. I love Gino. He's the best.
You
But
heard it first on this
but he
podcast.
just can't tour, and I'm pissed at
Oh.
him because I love him and I want him to come on tour with us all the time.
Mhm.
But an amazing thing about Gino is his mom works for like Courtyard Marriott. So when we were touring with Gino, she gets like discounted rooms all the time. So we
Wow.
are like saving a lot of money on hotels, and we were staying in hotels. But now that we don't have that when we tour, because he can't really tour with his job, he was able to come on, like he took a sabbatical to go on the Bass Drum Death tour from his job so he could like actually do it. But now we basically just try to crash with people to
Mhm.
save money. Like that's pretty much the only way we could come out and be like, oh, we made some money. Like,
Mhm.
and if it's a DIY tour, depending on how it's kind of like hit or miss. Sometimes like the guarantees, you're like, okay, we can count on that, so we can budget it in. And the DIY ones were like, oh, we like can't count on anything because these are door deals. We gotta like budget super friendly. Like we got trash everywhere. And some of those we'll do like better on because you get like a little higher of like you made like 450 one night for some reason, like whereas
Mhm.
like if you would have done the guarantee, it would have been like you might have been playing with a bigger audience, but you get like the same 250 every night or something, whatever the
I
the support
know.
slot is.
I
And
know.
so
And I feel like people need to hear that like 250 is a very common number, like for playing some pretty big support
exactly.
slots
Yeah,
sometimes, because the main band, their team is basically trying to cut costs as much as possible because they also have like crazy expenses, but and they know that any band would kill to be on that tour and would
exactly.
do it for like 250, but like it's basically like $0 in terms of like what it costs to get to the show, to even if you want to eat that day or
Yeah, support
forget, like
5 adult human beings, like
yeah,
a
and
200.
drive eight
Yeah,
hours and
yeah.
sleep and eat, yeah, and like, and yeah, it just, and if you were to be like, we want to stay in hotels or whatever, like there you go, that's like 1.5 hotel rooms,
Right. Yeah.
it's like negative money, but it's the investment that you're making to be on those shows. But I feel like people don't always know that sometimes those DIY shows, you come out with more money than, if you're playing a
Mm-hmm.
huge crowd. Unless I was just talking to Seth from Ghost Funk about this, like merch is so
Merch is the
important
thing.
because
Yeah, that's
yeah.
that's where the job like that's where like we are pretty like at least me, I'm like every show like either it's pretty much usually me or James will like one of us will pack up the other one's stuff, and somebody just runs to the merch table, and we're just
Mhm.
there until the line dies. Like
Mhm.
that's kind of like, and that's the only way we're like able to be like I think on the bass drum tour, which was 3 weeks with guarantees 250, we ended up like coming out. I think we came out on top like a bit with all the merch and stuff. We were
Mhm.
like like everybody made a little money. Like I was like, we all worked really hard for this. But that's it's a lot of work. You just
Mhm.
gotta like every night you gotta be at that merch table, and you're basically like a t-shirt salesman that plays like a
Yeah.
40 45 minutes. You play on stage, or
Yeah.
30 minutes a lot of the times, and then you're
Yeah.
just like standing there peddling shirts
Yeah.
and
You're like,
then
here's my
driving all
shirt
day.
presentation.
It's
Let me
like a
drive 10 hours to play for
yeah.
30 minutes
Uh-huh.
and then sell these t-shirts that
And
I
then sleep on
really hope
somebody's
you like.
floor, and
Yeah.
then
Yeah.
yeah.
And I mean, like, how do you guys like, because I'm assuming you weren't able to pay everybody like what they would make if they stayed home and worked, right?
No,
Like,
yeah,
yeah, so like everyone, I'm sure they're taking their own like personal loss on the tours, but
exactly. Yeah,
yeah, yeah,
it's
which
basically everybody's got to be down and just be like, well, I'd rather lose some money this month and play music every night,
right.
and that's just kind of it. It's like a decision, and hopefully, eventually, that's not the case. Hopefully, we're making more money eventually one day. Like hopefully, we're headlining sometime, and we have a band opening for us, and we're making enough where it's not a loss to be like, okay,
Mhm.
I'm taking, there's a lot of groundwork you got to do to get there, though. You got to like go out and build the audience. Like we're gonna go out with I'll just say we're gonna do a tour with a friend's band who actually you interviewed.
Yeah, it's
And
awesome.
yeah, but we're doing like a lot of the places we've been to already. So it's like kind of like we've been back to like a few, like we played like when we went with bass drum, we played the Beachland Ballroom
Cool.
in Cleveland.
Cleveland, yeah,
Yeah,
cool.
and then so they have a smaller venue attached to it called the Tavern.
Mm-hmm.
And so when we went back, there was like a whole shitload of people there with like Dead Tooth shirts on, like being like, "This is sick. We've been waiting for you guys to come back." So you just kind of like get to keep going until
Mm-hmm.
like there's like a they want us to come back. And then that's kind of where we're at. We're just like keep hitting the same spots, keep doing the thing.
Yeah, no, that's huge, and it's like you just got to keep going back, and you're in this, like, the reason I really want to talk to you too is because you're in this spot where you're not making enough money to live off of it yet, but you have to like come home and kind of make up for that, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So
I feel like this is like where we're at is like the trickiest part to
yeah.
navigate of like doing this, because when you're like not making any money or whatever, it's kind of like the demand's pretty low. Like you decide when you're gonna do it. Like, oh, we're gonna do like a weekender here or there. But it's like when you get to a point like where we're getting offers and stuff, it's like you kind of have to take them, but they're
Hmm.
also not like that much. So it's like there are opportunities that don't pay that well, and you gotta just do them. But in
Hmm.
order to do that, you gotta just like sacrifice. And we all have luckily we all have jobs that are pretty flexible. Aside from me, I'm technically unemployed right now, but I work for a friend's company upstate that comes down to the city and does these like wedding game jobs, and like it's called Upstate Jamboree. They made these games. I was telling you about it last time we hung out, I think. But I have like sporadic work in between tours. I just scored a film, like just kind of like
Nice.
whatever kind of work I can get that can allow me to like have the time to go out. And everybody's luckily in like a boat. Like Taylor's working at that kava bar that I used to work at, and it's pretty flexible. Like the staff's like, oh, if you need to go away for a couple weeks, like we'll just all pick up more shifts.
That's
um
great. That's
yeah,
like that's a huge part of the musician life that I think makes it really tricky, is just to find that those bosses who are, or either you have to make your own work enough so that you can survive through the times when you're not on tour, or you need to have a boss who's like super supportive, and those people are so awesome. And
Yeah.
it's unbelievable to me. Like I have this one job where, I'll email I'll email my boss. I'll be like, I'm gonna be gone like all of August, all of October, half of November. And then she's like, okay, sounds good. And I'm like, what?
Yeah,
Are
yeah.
you crazy?
That's
Like,
that's
all
great. That's
right,
amazing.
thank
Yeah.
you. Yeah. So
Yeah.
like every time I'm like, you can totally fire me. I totally get it. Like if you want to
Yeah,
fire
yeah.
me, like that's all good. And then she's like, no,
What's
we're
that
good.
like? What's that job? What
Oh,
do you
it's
do?
cleaning. I clean this office building like alone like a couple times a week.
Nice.
And yeah, and yeah, it's just
She just must like you a lot. Like that's like the thing. You got to just like make good relationships with people where they're like, I trust you and I like you, and like it's better to have you when I get you than not at all, you know?
yeah, that's
The like
basically what
whole
she
the whole
said.
dance of being a musician is like
Yeah,
getting people
yeah,
to like value you enough where they're like, when I'm here, I'm great, but I'll be gone a lot.
yeah. That's like
Yeah.
same with like, relationships too. Like
Yeah.
being a touring, the more your tours pick up and then you're away and then you're
Yeah.
just like with, luckily my boyfriend, he gets it because he's a musician too, but that's a whole nother part to navigate. It's like, all right, I'm gonna be gone for 3 months, and the next 4 months is like,
Right.
love you.
Yeah.
See you later.
Yeah.
Have a
And that's
great fall.
I feel like being on the touring side of that is always like I was actually just talking to Nola about this the other day because we're like boyfriend and girlfriend now, and we're like trying to
Mhm.
like
I
figure
love
out how
that.
like that's gonna like, and I'm like, yeah,
It's a great match. Everybody who's listening, it's like a perfect match.
thanks. But yeah, it's just like, oh, I think I'm gonna be like she does dance stuff. She'll do like residencies and stuff, you know, and it's just like, but it's not like nearly as much as like we're gonna be gone for like a month touring in November, and then like a week before that in September. You know, who knows? Something might else come up. You know,
Hmm.
um, and it's just like I just think it's like for the person on tour, like like you're constantly like uncomfortable in a weird place. You're always going somewhere new. Like it sucks in a lot of ways, but you're not just like sitting around. Like you're not like in the same place without the person that you like spend a lot of time with when you're like you're constantly distracted at least, you know.
Hmm.
Whereas like when you're like home, I feel like it's like a little harder to be like I'm just like sitting here, you know, like where normally we'd be like hanging out or going to a show
Yeah.
together or something. But it is,
Yeah.
absence makes the heart grow fonder.
Yeah. Yep. That's the saying.
Yeah.
Well, forgetful. That's what they say. But
Or
mostly fun.
forgetful. That's
Yeah.
the
Mostly fonder though. I think.
yeah.
I think it's nice. It is good for relationships too to have that
Mhm.
space sometimes because it kind of makes it fun. Like, oh, I'm not gonna see you for a whole month,
Right.
and then you get all sad, and then like you see each other again, you're like, yay!
Yeah,
So it
totally.
can add some excitement to the relationship.
Adds value, you know?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
It's
Supply
like supply and
demand.
demand. It's nice to think about relationships in the form of a capitalist.
Yeah, that's horrible.
Yeah.
No, it's I wanted to ask you just a couple more questions. This has been so fun. Thank
Mm.
you for
Yeah, thanks for
chatting.
having me. Been a
Yeah.
blast.
Yeah.
And everybody getting you giving everybody the secrets. This is
I
cool.
guess,
Yeah.
yeah. I just want people to hear like I don't know, these are the conversations I like to have with other
Mm-hmm.
musicians, I just cuz the more shows, we've all been everyone I talk to, we've all been fighting to be a musician in this world for what 15 years, since
Right.
like basically, and then you it feels sometimes like the closer you get to maybe that, the harder it gets or the weirder it gets. And
Right.
there's just all this stuff to like deal with. And, there's like people that are making and so many emails and like Zoom
Mm-hmm.
calls and like teams. And it's like every decision, like at least with Gustav, there's like a lot of people helping make decisions now. And
Mm-hmm.
it's just like, I don't know. It's just, for me, there's a big difference between what I thought I was trying to get into when I was like a kid, when I was
Right.
like 18 and like what it actually is.
Totally.
And I just want to hear from other musicians like what their experiences too, because I mean, in so many ways, we get to do like the coolest stuff in the world, like all these awesome shows and opportunities that we get. And then on the flip side, there's like we sacrificed so much to do that stuff, you know, and like you were
Right.
saying with your friend, you're like, I'm kind of jealous he like has money and
Right.
like a studio. And that's like what we all actually really just want is like
Right.
money in a studio,
Yeah.
like to just play.
Yeah.
And you know, we're sleeping on floors, you know, we're still like even when you're opening this huge show for people, you know, and when you're younger, you're like, wow, they're really doing it. They're like living the dream, you know, and then you
Mhm.
get there and you're like, can we crash on your floor? And it's like
Right.
20 years later that you're still asking your friend, can I crash on your floor? And you're playing such bigger shows and you're still crashing on their floor. And you're
Right.
like, something isn't adding up here, you know?
Yeah. Well,
And
the whole industry's broken, and
yeah.
like the longer and longer we all do it, we're like, there's been like this carrot dangling in front of us for years, and
Yeah.
and it just seems
And
like it's getting harder and
yeah,
harder to
yeah. I
chase.
tasted. I
Yeah.
my
Yeah.
tooth touched it.
Yeah.
I licked the carrot once, and it
Yeah.
was, and then it was like nothing changed in my life. And
Yeah.
you know, everyone's like, I don't know. It's like I wouldn't change anything. I don't regret
Right.
like
Same. Yeah.
running through this whole life of doing this because like you know I've tasted the other carrot of like a you know regular corporate job. I did that when I was younger for a couple years, and I was like so sad and
Mhm.
depressed and like
Yeah,
I
you're
didn't.
happy now. You do like living a cool
Yeah,
lifestyle. You're like living your dream lifestyle essentially. But like you're
yeah,
saying, it doesn't come at the expense of like you're not just hanging around jamming all day. Like
yeah, yeah.
that's
That
like the least thing that I do. Like
I know that, and that's like the thing that it's like I want to be a musician so I could play
right.
music, and then I'm looking at my friends who like aren't musicians in the daytime, and they're playing more music than me, you know,
Exactly. That's
because
like
I'm
my
like, yeah,
yeah. That's like my buddy. He's like I'm like, you play more than I do. Like I'm just like I'm basically just like on my phone answering people most of it. That's like what most of my day is like coordinating between people, answering emails, and like figuring out plans of like what's gonna come out when, coordinating the album art. Like it's all just like a big, who's gonna be the drummer at this show that Gino can't do. It's like the whole thing is just like a big business that you have to run
yeah.
that you
And
don't really
so,
get paid for.
yeah,
So
I
then
know.
on top of that, you
I
gotta
keep coming up with this joke in my head, like, because it's not possible because of the way, like, you know, music. I mean, the industry maybe, but I keep thinking in my head, I'm like, music's just a giant like pyramid scheme somehow, and I want to like make the connection to it. It's like if you just pay $5,000 for this Spotify, you know, Spotify placement playlist
right,
thing, you're gonna be the next big star. And it's like
right,
my email is more full of like people trying to get me to pay them money for stuff that's not gonna work. Like
right,
more than anything. It's like every day, like your website needs work, you know,
right.
pay me. And then it's like you should be on this Spotify playlist, like pay me thousands of dollars. Oh, do you need a PR person? Yeah, pay me like $10,000 and like I'll get you nothing. And
Exactly. You
like
might get like a couple little write-ups that people just forget about in like a weekend. It does nothing, literally
nothing.
nothing for the status of your band. Like there's just an article out there now that you could like link to in like if you were emailing somebody. That's it. You paid thousands of dollars potentially to have like an article that somebody just copy and pasted your bio most of the time
Yeah,
onto
it's the
their thing,
worst.
and
Yeah.
then they'll like and then you could just show that and be like, look, like this is there, but that's it. Like that, and that might like come up in a Google search, but it's not like that's like even all these like all like a lot of music editorials are just like nobody's reading them anymore. Everybody's just scrolling on TikTok. There's like
Yeah.
it's like like music journalism used to help bands, and
Yeah.
maybe it kind of does still a little bit, but it's like it's not gonna like I feel like even if you get like a pitchfork review, it's like not a guaranteed thing that your band is gonna do that much better. Like you
Yeah.
might I mean you probably will. You'll probably get like better shows. You'll get like
Who knows though? Like
right.
who knows? It
You
really depends.
I don't think it's gonna like transcend into like or translate into plays necessarily. Like that's like
Mhm.
a thing that used to have. I feel like if something used to write about you, like you could definitely see like an increase in attention to your music. People would listen to it. But I don't even think like I don't think that's like necessarily the way it is anymore. It's like,
Yeah.
and then I
Eh,
think also it's like all turning into like digital marketing. Like if you do want it to happen, you just have to pay somebody to make it happen, and then the like kickback from that is just point, like you said, 0.00000000002 cents.
yeah,
Like
yeah.
what are you gonna you're gonna drop like a couple $1,000s on marketing so that you can make that? Like,
Yeah, it's gonna take like 6 years to get that money back, maybe. Like
yeah. It's like
from plays.
the business is like capitalizing on like musicians just like our like dream of wanting to make it
That's what I'm
is
saying.
like
That's why it's like an MLM or something, but it's not like one company doing it, but it's like every company is just like, give me like $4,000 and your dreams will come true. You're just gonna
right,
be like a rock star, you
right.
know? And
And you're like, I mean, I could save that up and then I don't have to do anything as far as the logistics goes. Like this person will do it, but like that's just not gonna happen. Like there's no truth in that, like
yeah,
they're selling you snake oil.
yeah, yeah.
Hello, side note here. If you want to support a small business that is definitely not an MLM or a pyramid scheme, check out Sorry Cables, my favorite cables. They're a great company based out of LA, and they have amazing, rad, colorful guitar and instrument cables. They're awesome. I use their cables all the time. I'm going to be using their cables on the Tea Eater tour. I use them constantly. So thank you, Sorry Cables, for sponsoring today's episode. Back to the conversation now.
I don't know. I'm sure there's people out there who genuinely care about the musicians, but it's just the email's just like, can you pay me like money every day? And I'm
Yeah,
like, why are you hitting up a musician? Like,
right,
because musicians, they're the ones who hire everybody, which is hilarious because we make the least
right,
money, in all of the whole music business.
right,
And I just find it funny that we're the customers, in the
right,
music industry.
right. And that's like honestly a lot of the like a lot of the reason we've gotten to where we are is because like after the pandemic, when I had that money, I like put it into the band. Like before that, I've never like had like a surplus of money to be like, I want to put it into this band. But like when the pandemic happened, I was getting all these like checks from the government. I was like, I'm just gonna put this into my band. And then we had like things started happening, and I was like, oh, you need to spend money. Like, and most people that make music don't have like a lot of money to spend.
Yeah.
It just becomes like a tricky dance.
Yeah. And you do the whole you DIY everything that you can,
Right.
like, but yeah, it's not always that easy to do that, and it's not easy to make the coolest t-shirt design as a musician,
Right. You got to
and you
pay an
might
artist typically,
mm-hmm. Yeah.
and you don't want to undervalue them. But it's so funny. Like I feel like everybody like doesn't want to get under like even like I mean this is gonna sound shitty because a lot of photographers just like take photos for free. You know, they're amazing. They go to shows and they take photos of bands they like and they don't get anything in return. But if
Mm.
you like book a session with a photographer, it's gonna be like hundreds of dollars. They're gonna like want a good like for your portraits, and you're like, cool. Like, but that never happens for the music. Like, when are they like, we want unless they're like paying you to come play, but you gotta like travel there and do it. Like, I just feel like the musician's always doling out the money to make the thing for the Instagram. It's like
Yeah.
you gotta spend like a ton of money to have this image to put on Instagram, which will go away in one day,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah, and then your band gets $250 to open up, and
Right.
there's five of you,
Yeah.
and you just drove 9 hours,
Yeah.
yeah, to play for 30 minutes.
And then your
Yeah,
car breaks down.
yeah, and you're like, this is so worth it. Like
and
this,
then and then like the festival you're supposed to go play is actually it found everybody found out it's sponsored by the US Army, so you have
you have
to.
to cancel
Yeah.
everything. Yeah,
It's just like there's no winning. There's
yeah,
no
yeah. But I mean, it is worth it though. There's something inside that's like, this is so worth it. So like, what is that for you? Like, what keeps you going through this?
at this point it's just like I don't know. I don't even like think about it really that much. At a certain point, there was like a lot of like existential, like, oh, is this what I do? Or like, I don't know. And like at this point, I just don't even see like it's part of my identity at this point where I'm like, I don't, there's not really another path. Like, I'm not going to go back to school. Like, I'm not like, I never even went to school. Like, I went to like a year of community college and then was like, I was like paying for it myself. And I was like, I'm not like, I would have to like be working full time to go to that school and I would have zero time to play music. I was like, and I don't know. I mean, I'm very like over the last few years, I've actually been very lucky. Like through the publishing deal, I've gotten some sync deals and I wrote a
Nice.
song for an Apple TV show. Like I've experienced some of the successes of playing music at this point after 20 years of doing it. I've finally like made some money in doing it. Mostly that's like mostly where the money in music is through like sync licensing. And that's even going down tremendously. Like the amount they're paying out for syncs is getting lower and lower and lower because it's more just free and free and free. Like there's more bands thrown like it's just like when the thing is just exposure is like the prize.
The payment. Yeah.
Yeah, then like you're just devaluing the thing entire. Like there's no actual profit to be made when like you're like, oh, you can like we'll just put your music in this movie for but we'll pay you like a little bit of money, but like tons of people are going to hear it, like, and then
Mm.
that's the value. But then like, cool, tons of people are going to hear it. Maybe they'll go on Spotify and listen to it. But then, like you said, there's no real money coming from that because the percentage is so low. It's like really the only way to do it is to like keep going out there and keep playing. And I guess for
Mhm.
me, the joy is in getting on stage every night. Like we genuinely love it. Like there's no replacement for it. Like I've taken time off of playing shows. I'm even right now we're kind of like not playing that many shows. We're like working on a bunch of new music, um, getting ready for this tour in Europe. Want to like we have a finished EP, but I'm like I want to make an album as well. I have all these demos that I'm like we played so many shows last year, like just all summer long, like
You guys are
sometimes
going
2 a week,
hard.
like, and
Yeah.
I'm like I kind of want to take a break and like just do the thing, but there's still this constant urge in if you're a real performer, like we're all like constantly fighting the urge. We got like an inbox full of show offers. We're just like, nope, sorry, but like you always want to do it. Like
Yeah. Yeah.
if you really love doing it, which I do and everybody in the band does, we always want to do it. It's like a fight to say no, which
Right.
is like the toughest part about being a musician. You're constantly being offered things to do for like they want you to do it for free essentially, and you want to do it for free because you want
Yeah.
to do it. Like that's why you're doing this. That's why you were playing in the barn when like you're like one day they'll be asking us to do this,
Yeah.
and they do. But it's just like the more it just the more and more you do it, I feel like I don't know. Been doing that for like 20 years. I'm like we gotta like pick and choose the things we do now. Like
Supply and demand a little bit.
yeah, and for like and just for your own like mental health, like how touring is like being on the road is not easy. Like I think
Mm-hmm.
everybody thinks it's the most fun thing, and it is the most fun thing a lot.
Mm-hmm.
But it's also like you come back from tour, and you're like I get depressed for a
Oh yeah.
while. Like
Same. Yeah.
um, real life is just like hard to just snap back into. Like it doesn't really like you get like you're like used to being constantly stimulated by something new and fun, and then you come home and you're like, what am I supposed to do now? Like like you're like kind of just like have this huge like dip
Mm-hmm.
in your
Yeah.
energy
I
level.
I feel that I have like a week where I'm just kind of like laid
Yeah,
out, sort of, and I'm just like,
totally.
it's
Yeah,
really
you're like
hard to.
close the door. I don't want to like talk to anybody for a day or two,
Mm-hmm.
and that used to be different. Like when I was younger, I would be like, whatever, I don't care. Go play a show, go work all night, like, and then go not sleep. But I'm like, I don't know. I'm gonna be like 40 in 3 years. I'm like, I don't know how many more. I gotta like pick and choose now. A little
Yeah.
bit.
Yeah. I think we're gonna surprise ourselves. There's just something weird within the musician makeup that is
Right.
like you just
Just keep going.
you just do it, and you're like, oh yeah, 3 hours of
Right.
sleep, like, oh, I feel terrible, but I'm gonna like rock out so hard, no one's gonna
Right.
know that like I am literally dying and like I have
Yeah.
the worst stomach ache of my life right now, and
Right.
I'm just like gonna
Usually more so in those situations.
yeah,
Like I feel like
yeah,
because you got to like compensate, you got to like grind against it or something. It's like
yeah, yeah.
um
It's crazy.
yeah.
Strange breed.
Yeah. But yeah, even I don't know, like I've always been like a pretty like a not like a crazy heavy drinker, but I've like pretty much drinking consistently since like my teenage years. And now I'm even like I gotta like chill on that like most of the time. Like it's like on tours now, I'm like I used to like on tour, like we would drink almost every night, like depending on who's like driving, that person would not drink, but then everybody else would just drink, like I was like, but now it's like we like most of us in the band like don't really drink that much on tour. It's like because it's like becoming to the point where it's like if we did that and sleep on the floor every night for 3 weeks, like you just don't like the sustainability of that is just pretty rough.
Oh yeah. Especially like when you're singing too. That's
Right.
like yeah,
Yeah, I
start to
have like
get
a
you.
regimen now. I'm like I gotta like take care of myself after the show. I gotta like drink lots of water. I'm like if we're doing this every night, it's like I can't be just doing the like not give a shit. Go through
Yeah.
phases where you're like a couple days of that and then you're like, okay, gotta like chill for a second. Cause it's
Yeah.
fun to just like get into that flow of just being like, we're just doing it and like doesn't matter how I feel. Like we're bigger than our bodies almost. Like we're gonna rock out past the pain, like you were saying, like
Yeah.
and like but then that catches up with you. Like then that just adds on to the time after tour. You gotta recuperate how many brain cells you lost doing that, like headbanging.
I know. I know. The headbanging. It's like it's so fun, but every day I'm
Yeah.
like, why? Why do I do this? And I'm
Yeah.
like, because it's just I can't help it.
Yeah.
It's
The
just so
neck
fun.
hurts.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It's good exercise, I
It's
guess.
good exercise. Yeah.
Neck exercise.
Yeah. You're
Oh my gosh.
strengthening that neck.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I know. Um, all right, my last question for you. And I guess we touched on this a little bit, but like, what's all these cool opportunities that you've done? What have you sacrificed in your life for that?
Um, I think mostly just like any sense of like security, really. Like a like in just a low like I don't know. I feel like it's a tricky. I don't like to say it, like I have a low quality of life, but I have a much lower quality of life than I could have. Like I
Hmm.
could work a normal job, save up money, maybe buy a house, like that's like not even like something I could consider at the moment unless like some really great things happen. And
Hmm.
it's never been that's always been fine. I've always been like that's not what I want necessarily.
Hmm.
But I'd say like that, um maybe even like I didn't get to bury my grandfather because I was on tour once in Europe,
Oh
like
wow.
which would have been really cool to do. Yeah, I really loved my grandfather, and but it was like a situation where I was like I'd have to like basically screw like the whole tour would have to end if I did for the whole band, and
Hmm.
like he wouldn't have wanted that. My whole family was like he wouldn't want that. He
Hmm.
would understand, don't do it. But it's like stuff like you miss things. You like we're gonna be gone at Thanksgiving, and like yeah, it's kind of a bullshit holiday anyway, but it's a time my family gets together. We're gonna be in Europe.
Hmm.
Uh, just I don't know. I feel like what people that don't play music don't realize is like it's both selfless and selfish. Like you have to be pretty selfish to do it. Like you have to be like I'm gonna make this the priority, but you're also like sacrificing great qualities of life that like the great comforts that they get every night. Like knowing how much money is coming in every week is like a comfort that I haven't really like felt in kind of a while. Like in like a great sense, like at least like in the future, like I'll be like, oh yeah, I'm working at this kava bar for now until I got to go on tour. Like I know
Hmm.
roughly how much money I'll make till then. but it's like when I get back from that tour, I might not have a job because like somebody else took the position, like I
Mhm.
feel like just a sense of like knowing what your life is going to look like, which is nice, but
Mm.
also something I've always felt a little bit like part of the beauty of life is not knowing and like rolling with
Yeah.
it. And
Right.
but yeah, I'd say probably that and like just like comfort, a lot of comfort. Like
Mhm.
this is the first time I've ever lived alone, and I don't know if you can see it, but this is the whole apartment. This is
It's
literally it.
nice.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I didn't notice that because I see some spices
Yeah,
over there.
that's the
Yeah.
kitchen right there.
Wow.
That's the kitchen, and then that's the bedroom. It's all just one room.
That's
Like,
cool. I like
yeah,
your hats too. You got a
thanks.
lot of hats. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, but yeah, a lot of places like there's no like place to go outside. Like there's like
Mhm.
it's just like you kind of gotta like I feel like when you're a musician, you gotta find the like living situations that are they just work most with your lifestyle, and oftentimes that's like a pretty, it's not necessarily the greatest conditions to live in, or like I've lived in like apartments or places that I was just like that just kind of sucked, but it was just like what you had to do at the
Mhm.
time to keep playing and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
What about
Yeah.
you? What do you think?
What
Sacrifice
have
wise?
I sacrificed?
Yeah.
Oh, definitely money for
Yeah.
sure. Like, yeah, it's just like yeah, just future me. I've sacrificed a lot of comfort for future me.
Right.
And same thing, like just not having the life of you know, buying a house, getting some property. Even like I love my van, but like I would like a little bit of a nicer situation there,
Mm-hmm.
but um I don't live beyond my means, which I really appreciate about myself, but because of that my means are very small, so I live very small,
Humbly.
compact.
Yeah.
Yeah, which I kind of always just like that vibe anyway, so it's totally okay with me, but um and I never really liked a sense of I know what I'm gonna do in 3 years. Like that's why that office job, corporate job I had a long time ago, like kind of made me really sad because I was like,
Yeah.
it didn't excite me.
Right.
But I think the older I get, the more I'm seeing my friends who have more of a normal life with like the house with the cool studio downstairs with like money to buy the guitar that they like, or
Right.
like a
Right.
fun guitar pedal. I'm like, oh my gosh, I wish I could have that too, you
Right.
know. And, maybe we both will one day. And it's just, it kind of feels like being a musician is a lot like gambling. You're gambling your life, you're betting on yourself that you're going to be able to, you know, make up for that eventually. And this, like, yeah, the royalties or something's gonna, or sync's gonna come in. And,
Mm-hmm.
um, yeah, I've I think just money's my main thing because I have to make up money after I come home from tour, and
Yeah.
um, I do like 5 different jobs when I come home, and I'm always just like piecing it together, and it's this kind of stressful freelance situation right now where I wish my uh time was just valued more as a musician, basically, because then I could come home and not have I could actually relax and like,
Right.
you know, be calm after the storm of the tour and like not be freaking out about, how am I gonna pay rent next month kind of thing.
Totally. Yeah.
So yeah, I
Yeah.
guess that. And I feel like also just like general health. I feel like the stress on the body that I put on my body from touring so much is like um a lot. It doesn't There's a lot of like the fun aspect that I feel like maybe balance that out, but they're, sleeping on in random places, like
Yeah.
disgusting places a
Mm-hmm.
lot. Like I don't know. I feel like I've stressed myself, like, and the head banging and everything.
Yeah.
It's like I'm
I
like, what did I do to myself? Like,
yeah.
this is crazy.
I had to start wearing a back brace on our last tour, like during set.
Oh,
I like really during one of our shows, like I think Taylor thought I was like closer than than I was, and he went to do like a back bend, and I was like not there to catch. I was like, but I had to like throw my weight off to like catch him, or else he would have just like fallen on the ground.
Oh
And so
no.
like when I did that, so, like something in my back just like tweaked, and I
Uh,
was like I had to go to like a chiropractor in Austin. Had to pay like
wow.
$100 to go see. Like it didn't take my insurance, but I was like, I'm seriously in so much pain
Wow.
that and they put like electrodes on me and they gave me like an adjustment. And maybe like 3 or 4 days later, I was like pretty okay. But like that night, I was like, I need to like I was like wearing this back brace and like I had to take like some like painkillers to just like get through the show. I was like, this is like brutal. Like, and just
Yeah.
from playing shows, and yeah, and like and sitting in a car all day is terrible for your body. I have
Mm-hmm.
terrible knees now. I have like arthritis in both my knees.
Mm,
And I'm like, that's maybe not directly from playing music, but that's definitely from like working a lot of manual. Like I used to be a mover to pay
mm-hmm.
for my lifestyle. I was a busboy in that restaurant, and that place, like the kitchen was downstairs. So you were like 12-hour
Wow.
shifts going up and down the stairs with bus tubs full of dishes, like grinding my knees away. Like it's just like I feel like yeah, physical shit is huge. And even just like I feel like you age a lot faster just doing this.
You're
Doing this.
eating weird. You're like eating from gas
Exactly.
stations or like I don't know. I've noticed too with Gustav, the bigger shows we do, the earlier we have to be at the
That's
venue.
the brutal part. Yeah, touring as a headliner is the worst because then you gotta like
Yeah, you don't
get
have
there.
time.
Yeah,
You don't have any. You have to wake up at like 8 in the morning to drive like 7, 8 hours to get there by like 3 p.m.
right.
And then you have to sound check, and then like maybe you could eat one meal,
Yeah, and you don't really
that day.
want to because you don't really play music all full of food. You're
Yeah,
like,
because it gives you a stomach ache.
yeah,
Yeah, or you're all like sluggish if you're
yeah.
too full. Yeah,
I remember being in Hey Baby, especially playing drums. As you as a drummer, like playing after like eating a burger or something is like the worst. It's like you're just like
yeah,
it's like because drumming's like you're like working out.
yeah,
Like you can't
yeah,
just like eat a burger and then like run around. Like that's
yeah,
not what you want to do.
yeah, yeah. So yeah, there's a lot, but it's like in the end, it's like I said, we're just built that way where we're like, sounds good to me. Let's do it.
Right,
Like, let's
right.
do it for 20 years. It sounds great,
Yeah.
you know?
I've been like this year I've actually been like trying like being like I'm gonna like work out and be healthy like when I'm not on tour. Like I'm gonna like build my body stronger so that when I'm on tour,
Nice.
like it's like but I've never done that my whole like I don't know, I've just always been like whatever, like I'm
Yeah.
young, but I'm like I'm not that young anymore. I actually have to like do things now to like maintain a
Yeah, you have to
healthy
get
like
strong so you could like wither away on tour and then get
exactly.
strong again.
Yeah.
I know. I'm doing the same thing actually. My sister has been she invited me to go to the gym with her and I took her up on it and I've been going with her. And it honestly it helps so much just sitting in the car like when you're stronger, like it just
Right.
you're I don't know,
Your
it doesn't
core is
hurt as much.
stronger.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Just basic stuff like that. Yeah, I remember when I was in high school and our first band started, me and my best friend, we started our first band, and the drummer, he picked up a book from the library that was like how to make it in the music industry.
Hmm.
And I remember there was this whole section about going to the gym, and we were like, "Are you kidding me? That's
Yeah,
so stupid!"
yeah.
And they're like, literally like a whole chapter, like you gotta stay in shape, and we're like, "What are they talking about? Like this is so
Yeah.
weird. Like you're a musician." And then now I'm
Yeah.
like, "Oh yeah, like
Yeah.
that's smart."
Yeah, I've always kind of like thought it was like seeing like Henry Rollins and he's all like ripped and stuff. I was like,
Yeah,
that's lame. But now I'm like, maybe I should like get strong. Like I don't
yeah.
like I'm like or else I'm gonna like maybe die or something. I don't know. I'm like if I just keep doing what I'm doing, like I don't know if it's gonna last. I think I have to like do like the and like all the like information and science is out there now that it's just like oh yeah you're like supposed to like walk like 10,000 steps a day. Like if you don't you're like that's like you're actually doing like damage to your body. Like it's like being
Yeah,
sedentary. I think like all these studies after the pandemic came out that like being sedentary is just like slowly like depleting everything, like your bone health, your joint health. Like you're supposed to
yeah,
be moving around all the time as human beings. Like we're supposed to be walking around looking for berries or whatever.
Yeah.
And like we're just not. We're just like sitting on a computer or sitting in a car, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
And I feel like for the first, like, I've never really cared. That might have been like, whatever, I'm tired all the time, that's just how life is. But now I'm like, oh, what if I were like to work out? Maybe that would like and
Yeah.
make that like a regular thing. Then I might feel better, and I do. I feel like way better.
Yeah.
um
I saw a video of Billie Eilish. She just started working out too, and she was like, "Wow, I feel so much better, and like I
yeah,
perform way better. It's
yeah,
crazy."
turns out I'm not that depressed
Yeah,
actually.
yeah. I just was like sitting on my phone for 12
Right.
hours a day
Yeah.
and feeling bad. I didn't know why.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
But
think like in a way that's like I think it's going to be, I think it's becoming pretty like a lot of people are starting to be like, oh, I've got to like go for a hike, like this is stuff that like this just does good stuff for our neurology. Like we need to do this kind of stuff. And I feel like for so long that was just like not common knowledge or whatever. I don't know. Maybe it's becoming more like, I feel like there's like a health movement happening right now where like, and I think it's pretty cool. I think like people are like they're like, I don't know, for so long I feel like it was just like cool to just be like depressed and be like, I'm just lethargic. That's who like I'm just gonna express it through this music. But
mhm.
now I feel like it's becoming like punk rock to be like, no, I'm gonna like fucking bike 10 miles today, like, or like 20 miles today and like lift some weights.
Yeah, yeah. I
Yeah.
know, I love that because yeah, I do feel like the musician lifestyle has always been kind of like, yeah, just drink and stay up all night.
Right.
And now people are like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
I don't feel good.
Yeah.
And yeah, I would love that if it really does take off and everyone, like, man, I would kill if like every place we played was like, here, instead of 2 drink tickets, here's like carrots and celery,
Right. Right.
or like hummus or something. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, some places we get that kind of
Yeah,
thing
you
with
get
like
like
a
a little
rider.
rider. Yeah, in
Yeah,
Europe
but
you get that kind of stuff.
oh
I feel like
yeah.
they're like, here you go, here's like a
Yeah.
nice little green room snack for you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
cold snacks. I
Yeah.
remember our first tour in Germany. We showed up and they were like, before loading, you ate the cold snacks.
Nice.
And
Yeah.
and then
Yeah.
after loading, you sound checked and then you ate the like beautiful dinner that they
Right.
made. And I was like, this is, and you ate with like the sound person
Mm-hmm.
and the promoter, and the door person. And we all just ate this like sit down,
Right.
healthy dinner together.
Like
It's
home cooked meal.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah,
amazing.
Europe's the best.
Yeah.
They get it over there.
Yeah. And then they're like, here's a free place to stay.
Right.
And you're like, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Here they're just like, you're so lucky to be doing this, so we're not
Yeah.
going to give you
Yeah.
anything. Here's two
Give me
drink tickets.
$100.
Yeah.
Give me
You know
your
what I'm,
stack of money and then you could play. That was like the loft, like you had to show up with
right.
your stack of money,
You
like
literally had to, yeah.
$800, hand it to them. They give you like 40 back and then you
Yeah.
play your set and you're like,
Yeah.
okay, great.
Yeah. And you're like 17 years old. You're like, this is a strange business. You're you're making money off of high school kids bringing their fans to your venue.
Yeah, I just remember that. Yeah, and then you're like, "Do I get like I remember the Stanhope House in New Jersey. Ugh. I remember handing them a huge stack of cash. Like it was just like 20s, like stack of 20s. They
Uh,
handed me literally $40 that day, and then I was like, "Do we get drink tickets or food or discount anything?" And the lady just like laughed at me, and she was like, "Oh, are you crazy?" And I was like, "Oh my gosh,
yeah. You
this
should be
is
so lucky to even
yeah,
be here.
yeah,
You're
yeah,
like,
yeah."
cool.
Yeah,
Thank you.
thanks. Thank you so much.
All right, friends. Thank you so much for tuning in to this week's episode of What It Takes to Be a Rock Star. I hope you enjoyed that conversation. Please let me know your thoughts, your feelings about it, if anything surprised you or did not surprise you. Again, you could send in any questions you might want me to ask musicians in the future to whatittakestobearockstar@gmail.com. Thank you so much for listening. Share it with your friends if you like it or if think they'll be interested. Blah, 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 blah. I'll see you on tour. Tune in next week. There's going to be another rockin' episode of What It Takes to Be a Rockstar. I'm not stopping while I'm on tour. It's going to be better than ever. All right, bye.